So our lead this hour coming from the NBA. Turn out the lights, the party's over. That would be the case in Philadelphia. It was Game 6, the Heat and Sixers. The Sixers looking to force a Game 7. Miami eyeing a trip to the Final Four. And I've given away the lead. Now, if you didn't watch it, perhaps not. Jimmy Butler. The Butler did it, scoring 32 points, grabbing 8 rebounds. He is the emotional spirit animal of the Miami basketball team. The Heat led by as many as 20 points, and they coasted to a 99-90 win over the woe-begone Sixers, who will be out fishing now. Miami winning this series in 6 games. They now advance to the Eastern Conference Finals, and they will play the winner of the Bucks-Celtics series, so they will have a 1-4 chance of going and winning the championship, 1-2 chance of getting to the NBA Finals. The much more compelling story here, exactly, you know where I'm going here, I'm telegraphing this, in the losing locker room, Joel Embiid, a subdued 20 points and 12 rebounds for the Sixers. He shot less than 30%, 7 of 24 from the floor, and James Harden feeling the wrath of rage from South Philly, 11 points, 4 of 9 floor, only 9 points in 43 minutes, zero trips to the charity stripe, as you know from NBA seasons past. James Harden's bread and butter has been getting to the charity stripe. He did not get a single attempt from the foul line. But don't bury the lead, my man. All right, we will not bury the lead. And another uber-talented roster coached by Doc Rivers ends up stuck in an 8-car pileup as it's na-na-na-na, na-na-na-na, hey, goodbye. They're done. Now, one of the things I love about Philadelphia is a few members of the media that love to tussle. Doc got a free pass by the soft LA media when he was destroying Clipper seasons. But in Philadelphia, you don't get away with it. And Howard Eskin, a longtime radio gas bag in Philly, he unloaded on Doc Rivers and the performance in Philadelphia, and it provided us with great audio. So let's go to the audio tape. Here's Doc Rivers, who was asked about his status and how he is done in a Sixers position there in Philly. And here's Doc saying he's very secure with his work.
I don't worry about my job, Howard. I think I do a terrific job, and if you don't, then you should write it, because I worked my butt off to get this team here. When I first got here, no one picked us to be anywhere. And again this year, the same thing. So if that's how anyone feels, write it, and I'm going to feel secure about it.
It's a results-based business. And that's
it is, but you don't do it every year. Every time you're wrong, should you lose your job? No. So it's the same thing, all right? But listen, if you believe that, then go with it. I know what I did this year, and I feel very good about that. But again, if you believe that, Howard, then you just run with it.
All right. Well, I'm backing up Howard on this one. I think he's spot on. I'm running with it. Does Doc realize Howard's a radio guy? I don't know that Doc even understands that. I'm sure he does, but he's write it. All right. So let us discuss the question. You heard what Doc Rivers said there in that back and forth, that tussle. Has Doc Rivers improved the Sixers from where they were 2 seasons ago when he took over? All right, so I'm shaking my head no here. I've got Gene Hackman, televangelist, and Magic 8 Ball. And we're going to combine all of these things together, and we're going to make a tasty cake, because that's a delicious dessert, and I'm enjoying the downfall of Philadelphia. So, number one. Back in the day, if we go in the hot tub time machine, when Philly said bye-bye to Brett Brown, a few years back, the expectation was they needed more. They needed to get to the next level, and they blamed him for the quagmire in Philadelphia. So what have they got now with Doc Rivers? More of the same. That's what they've got. And for Doc, I've been around him a lot over the years. For Doc Rivers to have the chutzpah to play the "no one expected the Sixers to be here" card defies logic. Right? Like somehow they overcame the odds here. He's painting this mosaic, Doc, that he's Gene Hackman playing Coach Norman Dale in that old basketball movie, The Hoosiers, back in the day. Put down the crack pipe. Put down the crack pipe. Philadelphia is no better with Doc Rivers than they were with the previous coaching regime. And those of you that understand basketball know that. The low information fan might not, but anyone with a decent amount of knowledge of basketball knows that the Sixers are continuing to tread water in the kiddie pool. And Doc Rivers was hired to go Star Trek. He failed to go Star Trek and take the team to strange new worlds, like the conference final, the NBA final. He talks the talk, but has rarely walked the walk. Philly has now lost in the conference finals 4 of the past 5 years. Now, what does that mean? That means that they're no different with Doc than they were with the previous coaching regime. They have continued to not exceed expectations. Okay. And considering the conniving way that the team was built, there is a level of satisfaction that this has become the outcome, that the Sixers have been on the hamster wheel of mediocrity. Trust the process, they said. All of that tanking was going to pay off. Well, they had the years of futility. They were more worried about lottery balls than basketballs. And what do they have to show for it? A boondoggle. That's what they have. Page 2. Is Doc Rivers a good coach? Is he as good a coach as Doc Rivers thinks he is? So that is a bit of a rhetorical question. Doc Rivers is delusional, as he has delusions of grandeur. Now, I believe deep down, if you gave Doc some truth serum, he knows that he's a carpetbagger. He's a failed carpetbagger. It's all about the hustle. You got to do the hustle. And Rivers, he's a silver-tongued preacher, is what he is. And he's learned a thing or two. And I give Doc credit for this, that he understands human nature. And he's really become a basketball coaching televangelist, evangelizing about his ability. And we've all, if you've paid attention to human nature, you know that if you repeat something enough, people are more likely to believe it. One of the reasons that sleazy politicians are known as sleazy is because they continue to lie, but if they lie enough, a certain amount of people believe them. There's a term for this. It's known as the illusionary truth effect. And it has been proven that human beings, you and I, and all of our brothers and sisters are hardwired the same. That if we hear or read a claim repeatedly, we are more likely to think it's true. For example, Doc Rivers tooting his own trumpet in the media, and a certain percentage of the sheep are going to believe it. There's a lot of scribes who have become devotees to the good doctor. And Rivers is the antithesis of the Zen master. And Phil Jackson was criticized, all those championships. And what was the criticism of Phil Jackson? Well, anybody could win with Jordan and Pippen and Shaq and Kobe and all those talented teams. Well, Doc Rivers being the antithesis, obviously the opposite there, I am convinced if in an alternative dimension, Doc Rivers was coaching Jordan and Pippen and Kobe and Shaq, each of those dynamical teams would have had only one championship, if that. Okay? Like, the Bulls would not have had a dynasty in Chicago with Jordan if Doc Rivers had a chance to medal, and Kobe and Shaq and Gasol and all those guys, it wouldn't have worked out. Nobody in modern basketball has done less with more than Doc Rivers. Nobody. The Celtics won a title in 2008, and still that Boston run considered underachieving when you look at the level of talent and the results. The Clippers with Lob City and all of those amazing ball players screwed up. And Doc Rivers, his DNA was all over that. And even the beginning of the Kawhi Leonard era in L.A., Doc, he's the one common denominator in all this. Now in Philadelphia, Joel Embiid, tremendous ball player. James Harden, we're told how great Harden is, or was, coming up with zeros. All right, final point. So what does the future hold for Doc Rivers and James Harden? We'll toss both these guys in. The Sixers at a crossroads after losing in the playoffs. So what does the future hold for Rivers and Harden? So we ask the Magic 8 Ball. Oh, Magic 8 Ball, what does the future hold? And the Magic 8 Ball says, outlook not so good. That's what it says. So Rivers, listen, this guy will be fine. He always lands on his feet. He's also always on the move. We mentioned this in a previous episode of the show. But Doc Rivers has become the guy that's always on the move. He's always on the run. Teams chronically underachieve, and Doc, he has to be one step ahead of the law, or in this case, one step ahead of the ownership. So we fully expect Doc Rivers to run off to the Lakers or the Utah Jazz or take a sabbatical and do TV. Now, the smart money says L.A. If Doc Rivers gets an interview, and we assume he will because the Sixers will let him go. They'll cut bait. And Doc goes to Los Angeles. And he can sweet talk Jeannie Buss and LeBron James if the Lakers keep LeBron. And Rivers is the kind of guy. He's got the gift of gab. He could sell trash to a garbage man. And the garbage man will say, how much? I'd like to buy more. And we certainly hope that happens because we will enjoy the schadenfreude of Doc Rivers continuing his manipulating ways in La La Land with the junior varsity team in L.A., the Lakers. Now, as for James Harden, there's a phrase we use on this show for a great player who has fallen on hard times. It's a falling star. Don't let a falling star fall on you. And Harden should be in the doghouse. It was a 1-point lead at halftime for Miami in this closeout game, what turned out to be the closeout game. So in the second half, the Beard, back in Houston, he was doing the barbecue chicken thing. In this game, he was barbecue tofu is what he was. 23 minutes, 0 of 2 from the floor, no points, 3 turnovers. It was so bad, you wonder if it was intentional. Like he was trying to send some kind of message to somebody. It was Ben Simmons-esque. Is what it was. And certainly not a compliment. So the Sixers, they have to find a way to go another direction. Now, Harden will likely pick up the contract option. At this point, that's where the arrow is pointing. But he has now given the screw job to the Rockets when he ate his way out of Houston, Brooklyn, and Philadelphia. He's lucky he's not a baseball player. 3 strikes, you're out. Harden, we know, just like Doc Rivers, he will land on his feet despite his lackadaisical attitude. It is a buyer beware situation. Now, I'm concerned here because Daryl Morey, the executive in charge in Philadelphia, continues to be infatuated with Harden. So ownership likely needs to come in there, and we need some kind of intervention to cut the umbilical cord from Daryl Morey and James Harden. You would think Morey, if he's paying attention, would realize this is not going so well. This is not a wonderful, feel-good situation. All right, a little more post-game flavor. Joel Embiid, we'll go back to him here, and Embiid is playing the "if only I was healthy" card from the bottom of the deck.
A lot of things could have changed, maybe missing the first 2 games of this series, and you don't know. If I was fully healthy, you don't know what could have happened.
All right, now Embiid also commented on James Harden, and he took a bit of a shot at Harden. Listen to Embiid break down James Harden's performance in Philly.
Since we got him, everybody expected the Houston James Harden, but that's not who he is anymore. He's more of a playmaker. I thought, at times, could have been, as all of us, could have been more aggressive. All of us, whether it's Tyrese or Tobias or, guys coming off the bench.
All right, there you go. So Embiid pointing out that Harden is a second-rate ball player now. He's a marginal player. And Embiid said, he said it. I didn't say it. He said it. Man, I like it.